Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another whiteboard story time. We've done it a little bit differently this time. We've actually had a contest, well, not a contest, more of a gambling contest to see if we actually get to do a whiteboard story time. And thanks to Morishunto and actually rolling higher than me on a D20, we're actually doing a whiteboard story time on 1,000 Year Door with a little bit of a twist, though. So hope you guys enjoy this. We'll see what happens. But so overall, you have Mario and Luigi, and put Luigi here at their little home. Can I do like that weird house thing? There we go. Weird house thing. And then, you know, they're just sitting around. They're just having, you know, a cup of tea here. Were they actually having tea? I don't know. But Luigi goes and checks the mail. It's kind of like that. Okay. Luigi goes and checks the mail. And so apparently it's Peach saying, hey, guess what, Mario? I went on another crazy adventure again, so we need you to come. Here's this like map. We need this to do the actual adventure. So you need to come. So hurry up and show the fuck up, pretty much. So overall, that's how the story starts. But I mean, again, so I hope I haven't misled a lot of people. So I am also trying to make sure we keep it on one actual storyboard. But I did say I was going to tell a story about 1,000 Year Door. I didn't tell I was saying the story of 1,000 Year Door. So specifically, when this is happening, and Mario actually goes on his adventure, Luigi is at the house. And he's actually just chilling. He's just drinking some tea as well. And then he gets a letter. So when Luigi gets this letter is actually explaining that they need Luigi specifically to come help, and they actually address him as Sir Luigi, and they argue that this man that is called the Chestnut King, and I don't even know how to draw a chestnut. I think it's like this. I will make a meme like Chestnut King has stolen their kingdom, the kingdom's princess, which I'm pretty sure is the Waffle Kingdom. And they need Luigi to come help, saying Princess Eclair. And I don't even know how to draw an eclair. I have to draw like that, the icing. There's that. I don't know. That's a dessert, okay? That's a delicious dessert. So Luigi, clearly being the bravest one of them all, needs to actually go and save the princess while, Mario's out doing something important with Luigi, or with Princess Peach, yada yada yada. So, clearly the true hero is Luigi. So, now that is by Luigi's account. Now, this is where this is gonna get kind of meta, okay? So, this is factual. This checks out. This is by Luigi's account. Unfortunately, he's a goddamn liar, okay? Don't believe a word Luigi says. So what actually happened is, yes, Luigi was actually having some tea at home, but then, and I guess he technically was having tea, okay? So he wasn't a complete liar, okay? But technically, this letter that he receives is actually addressed as Sirs. This is confirmed in the game when you read the subtext, that the letter was not originally addressed to Luigi. It was actually addressed to Sirs, to the house. So presumably, they wanted Mario to show up and just bring along Luigi as a sidekick, hence being another Mario and Luigi dream team, pretty much. So fuck that series anyways. So, okay, so now that you know where this joke is going, I have to add to it, so give me a second. So everybody needs to know that this is for Luigi. And no, a part of this was not a reason for me to use this hat, even though, again, I bought this hat. I'm going to use it, okay? Overall, the story is that Monsieur Crepe, that is his name. I don't know about the Monsieur Crepe, but it's a crepe part, has this marvelous compass that has been split up into many different parts, and needs to be recruited to essentially save Princess Eclair from, I believe, and this is where I have to reference my notes here. Oh yeah, no, again, the Chestnut King. So in order for Luigi to save Princess Eclair, needs to actually recruit all the parts of the compass. So one of the first compasses is actually at a place called Rumble Bump Volcano. Actually, let's just draw it as a volcano. Whoosh, whoosh. That is a volcano, okay? And so once Luigi's actually traveling there. He's like, boo, 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 boo. He meets a blooper called Bluey the Blooper. This is my best interpretation of that. Does not look like a blooper. I'm gonna get censored here. Okay, let's just draw him as a fish. He's a squid, really, and that looks like Ty, but it makes sense, okay? So he recruits Bluey the Blooper, which is actually known as one of the fastest bloopers out there. He's actually called the White Blur. But because of the battle at Rumble Bump Volcano, eventually Bluey takes some collateral damage, and he turns kind of pale. Not pale, kind of like a brownish kind of style there. Yeah, very crispy, exactly. With the help of Bluey the Blooper, ends up winning. So, okay, again, this is Luigi's interpretation, so I'm going to say interp. And it seems at some point, Luigi decided to tell a story to somebody in Rogueport. Rogueport is where Mario is actually adventuring right now to save Princess Peach, and decided to get some sort of book sale or something like that, because that is the book Luigi interpretation. Now, when you ask Bluey the Blooper on what happened, I hope this looks better. This doesn't look that much better. Let's give him a face. Maybe that looks a little bit better. Okay. So when you ask Bluey the Blooper what happened, when they actually went to the volcano, Luigi just accidentally tripped onto Bluey, and Bluey got sent into the monster. I don't even know what the monster looks like. Let's just make him look mad. Okay. And then he ends up in the lava. So lava pool, boom, 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 which makes him extra crispy. So overall, you're starting to see again the interpretation of what the media provides you and what the actual recounting and telling is of the actual story. But it doesn't stop there. It actually gets a lot worse. At that point, then Luigi, again, looking for the next part of the compass, and I have to make this a lot smaller if I'm going to fit this all into one whiteboard. He ends up at Plump Valley Village. And then at this, essentially, he has to go talk to the serpent. I'm just going to draw an S for serpent because it kind of looks like a snake. And at this point, the serpent needs to be extinguished to get the part of the compass. But they explained to him that there's no way he could just straight up fight him, and that they need to essentially sacrifice a bride to him. So then Luigi has this bright idea, and actually I don't think in the story, in the story it was his idea, to be dressed up in a wedding dress, to be sacrificed to the serpent, and to essentially somehow convince the serpent not to destroy Plump Valley Village, but as well as to get the piece of the compass. And at this point, the compass, they're just going to be notified as a triangle at this point. So once they get up to the serpent, eventually the serpent sees behind this amazing facade of Luigi not being a woman in a wedding dress. They end up fighting the serpent, and then the serpent ends up dying. At this point, they find a little friend right before it, which is a little Bomb named Cherry, and he's so happy. Bomb Cherry, it's like, okay, cool. Like, I'll help you save, Princess Eclair. I'll go ahead and help you defeat the serpent. Everything is good. Everything is fine. So this is one of those times for this particular story where there is stuff left to be up to interpretation at this point. So overall, when Cherry recalls the story in its own real time, he doesn't actually debate the fight with the serpent. That yes, maybe Luigi didn't want to be in the dress, so like Luigi in the dress, like he was like, nah man, I'm not going to be in that dress, but they still forced him to do it. And then technically at the end of this story, they wanted Luigi was actually explaining, saying, hey, they wanted me to stick around and marry their daughter or whatever. Why does the guy in the fifth panel look like he's being shh, we don't look at that, okay? They were talking about essentially marrying Luigi off to, the princess of that land. But overall, the Cherry doesn't really acknowledge that, doesn't even say that, and says the only reason that he's actually following Luigi is to make sure that nobody ever sees Luigi ever again in a dress. And so this particular storyline is interesting because, again, you have the media say one thing, but the overall truth doesn't really say too much different on what actually happened and just added little details. Like, realistically, Luigi in a dress should never happen again. Like, okay, imagine me in a dress, okay? Especially with the Luigi hat. Would you guys want to see that? Probably not. Do not make that a donation goal, okay? So, okay, so next part. Here, boom. So now, next they go to Circuit Breaker Island. And at Circuit Breaker Island, to get the compass piece, they actually have to win a kart race to actually get the trophy, which the trophy actually happens to have the compass piece on there embedded at the top. It's kind of like the nozzle or whatever. So then Luigi explains, because of all his Mario Kart skills, he was actually able to show everybody amazingly like how good his driving skills are. He was able to win the trophy and just walk off scot-free, all because of his training in Mario Kart. Which, realistically, during this whole interaction, Luigi actually makes friends with a beetle bug called Torque. And Torque is actually the beetle bug, actually lends his kart to Luigi to race. So again, we're gonna do the kart. But again, and I explain this as much as I can. Everybody needs to understand. Luigi has experience in Mario Kart. He's driven cars before, okay? So it's not like he's dumb, okay? But what he did is essentially he went in reverse and destroyed all the other karts on the racetrack, which allowed him to be number one and get the compass piece. So again, very two drastically different stories here. Fantasy versus reality. Or you can even say that this omitted some of the facts that happened during Luigi's like whatchamacallit, visit to Circuit Breaker Island. But it's still one of those that it's just like, come on, Luigi, like, you know how to drive. You probably could have won that race, but you just literally destroyed the competition, quite literally destroyed the competition to win a race. And it's funny because even Luigi does embellish it a little bit, saying like, oh man, yeah, there was like weapons that happened. Because again, technically, all of these stories have a third part to them where Luigi actually tells you the story and then the book is actually written. And so I give you most of, besides like the first part and spoilers, the final part, of what the stories kind of like conflict with each other, besides little details. But besides the first part and the last part, every other story pretty much is the same at this point. So after winning this amazing race because of all of his skills in Mario Kart, he did not drive backwards. That's just fake propaganda news. Nobody ever talked about that. Luigi sets forth for Jazzafras Town. So we're gonna say Jazz. And then meets a Daisy producer, I believe, and Hazy. Now, Hazy is just like flour. It's one of those amazing Daisy ones that you like hate to fight in the game, because they either put you asleep or they're just dumb. Everybody hates them. So, but yeah, amazing Daisy, and they are essentially producing a play. Was it a play? Technically a stage play, because it wasn't a movie, I believe. Yeah, it was just a play, yeah. And so once the amazing Daisy actually saw Luigi, it's like, oh my god, you are one of the most fascinating people I've ever seen. We're gonna give you a key part. And so once Luigi actually plays this part, he won the absolute admiration of the entire crowd. They love him. They need more of him. And because he was so good, they awarded him with a piece of the magic compass. So now, again, lost in translation, you would think of like, okay, so you're in a place called Jazzafras Town. You know, you have an amazing Daisy that's producing it. You'd have to imagine what type of town this is. Well, the type of town that he's in seems to be predominantly run by flowers. So when Luigi is actually given a key role in this play, he is actually tasked to be grass. He is literally just grass through the entire part. Doesn't have a single line, doesn't do anything, he just sits there. He just becomes grass. But because he does such an amazing, job as grass, literally doing nothing. Hey, hashtag Luigi wins by doing nothing equals nothing. Damn it, that's not an ad. He actually gets awarded the magic compass. It is very interesting again, where Luigi tries to embellish the story and omit certain, key factors of it, versus it's still a big deal. They gave him one of the most profound roles in the actual play, which was playing grass, and he did such a good job that they gave him a piece of the compass. So very much, again, fake news, real news, but sometimes the real news is better. It's just why would people lie? So this is where things get a little weird and a little spicy. So I'm gonna make this a subsection, actually. So at one point, Luigi goes to the Rapturous Ruins, and it was beyond Grumble Force. That doesn't really matter for the story. Finds this okay, maybe I'll extend it. Finds a sleeping young boy and tries to wake him, saying, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" So it turns out the boy is named Cranberry. We're gonna call him Cran. It's called Cranberry, and that he's apparently been waiting for 1,000 years, and tells them that the marvelous compass was held by an ancient people called the Luff people. Use its powers for foretelling, to rule the world, all this type of stuff. Standard, overbearing power stuff. But eventually, they had to dismantle the compass and hit it into pieces. Cranberry is the last part of the race. He's just kind of giving some forbearance of what's happening here. So we're gonna make this a full line, actually. So we'll make this a full line. So give us some forbearance. Okay. So there's that. Now this is, like I said, where it does not actually look like a cranberry. Technically, doesn't it look like a toad? With the cherry on the top? I don't know. We'll get into that later. Okay. So what actually happened is, yes, technically Luigi spoke to the sleeping boy, but he sneezed, and that's how the boy actually woke up. But the real weird part about this is that nothing in the story actually explains, and I will try my best to actually draw a real life version of it. And I actually have it referenced here because I couldn't make a PNG of it. And then he has a little nose here. So this guy, his name is Screamy. And after his adventure towards these ruins or whatever, Screamy joins his party. But the thing about it is nothing in the book references it. And we actually talk to Screamy. Screamy only explains is, I must deliver something. It's one of the weirdest part of the story because we don't know where the fuck this guy came from. He's just kind of walking around with Luigi. Because so far, every other character has something against Luigi. So the fact that Bluey the Blooper got burned by him, the fact that this little Cherry just wants to make sure nobody ever sees Luigi in a dress again. Torque is following him because Luigi owes him a new car. Hazy overall is just it doesn't exactly despise Luigi, but it's just you're fascinating, you are grass, I must grasp your magnificence or whatever. Screamy is the only one we don't know where he came from. We don't know, and this is where it gets kind of weird. So after having all 6 of the pieces, so we have 6 times the compass pieces, we head to a place, what was it called again? Hate Song Tower. And then they're about to face the Chestnut King. Again, we'll make him look angry, angry. He has a mustache too. Apparently, Princess Eclair, right before the battle, says, "No, you can't attack him. He's the one I love and I forever should be in love with." And you're just taken aback, what the fuck happened here? I don't know what happened. So overall, then Princess Eclair explains, again, I'm really bad at drawing Eclairs. At this point, I'm gonna need actual sticker pictures of this. Princess Eclair explains that the real God, what was it? It wasn't King, was it? But we're gonna call him Monsieur, and that's not how you spell Monsieur. Crepe, the original guy that asked you to help, say Princess Eclair, was the true villain here, and then we need to fight him. So once that happens, he just shows up and he's like, yo, fight me, bro. And so once that happens, Luigi takes out his trusted hammer and just beats him to death. And boom, there we go. And then overall, Luigi's really sad because then Luigi, now with the power of the compass, because what we forgot to explain is that the last piece of the compass was on Princess Eclair's, like, headband or whatever, is that he can now look into the future because he's all-seeing and, you know, forbearant or whatever. But he couldn't see a future with Princess Eclair. Hence, that Princess Eclair probably ended up with the Chestnut King. It's kind of just how it goes, man. Sometimes, you know, women be wilding out here. No, that's not proper, but... So, that's kind of how it goes. But the weirder parts is that then you eventually have 2 different scenarios that Luigi explains happens. So, upon the revelation of Princess Eclair loves the Chestnut King, Luigi still proceeds to beat the fuck out of the Chestnut King. Like, literally destroys him in real life. He's sad, he's crying. But then what's weirder about the end of this is that once that happens, then Luigi explains, again, this is not the book version, this is his retelling. Because at this point, I believe most of the partners you can't actually like switch out to actually talk to them about what happened. Then he explains after he beats the hell out of the Chestnut King, there is just a random giant monster that shows up and he just beats that monster too. So even to the end, like starting with, again, you have the Mario story, you have his made up story and what actually happened, 2 versions of story that some would just be funny, doesn't make him look like a hero, because there's even points of the Mario series that Mario doesn't exactly look like the hero. It was just a really funny gag. He still just could not live in the shadow of not knowing that he was not the hero. And it even ends with, you have the actual documented story of like what the publisher decided to publish, and then he gives his retelling that is a lie upon a lie. That literally says, yeah, I beat the fuck out of the Chestnut King, which I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But then maybe he just got caught up in his lie. It's like, oh, but then there was a true villain that came out of nowhere and I beat the fuck out of him too. I relate with Luigi in some senses, in the sense of that I understand sometimes worth embellishing the truth works. I'm in sales technically, so I've done that a lot myself. Sometimes I say, yeah, you know, this controller is fine, it's durable. To, man, I have personally never had a bad controller come back to the store. Which might be true, but again, I am 1 people out of 5. So just because I've never had a bad controller come through doesn't mean none of my employees have never had a bad controller come through. So yeah, that is the story of Paper Luigi and the Marvelous Compass. Not one of my better story times, but I made it through. We got it, man. Boom. Done. End stream now. Okay, end recording at least.